Hey there. According to Cambridge historian Stephen Runciman, there was never a greater crime against humanity than the sack of Constantinople. For 1,000 years, Constantinople had been the repository of the riches of Rome, one of the greatest empires the world has ever known. The Eastern Roman Empire, which some call the Byzantine Empire, had had many ups and downs over its centuries of power, but its capital had never been sacked. Its massive walls, built in the 5th century, had kept it safe. These walls didn't just preserve the cultural achievements and riches of the Christian Byzantines. As the final capital of the Roman emperors, it also held the greatest works of Greek and Roman antiquity as well. All of this was burnt, destroyed, and stolen. For centuries, the Greeks, and to some extent other Christians, including a lot of people in my comments, have lamented the fall of Constantinople to the Turks in 1453. After centuries of trying, the Muslims finally breached the walls of that ancient city. Greek fantasies of taking back this city and the Aegean coast of Turkey have caused hundreds of thousands of deaths as recently as the last century. The fall of Constantinople has been remembered as one of the greatest crimes Muslims ever committed against Christians. But all of this anger and all of this resentment is based on a myth. It wasn't Muslims that destroyed Constantinople. Christians did that. That historian, Stephen Runciman, wasn't talking about the final fall of the city in 1453. He was talking about Constantinople's true destruction, which took place in 1204. Around 1200, the Eastern Roman Empire was perhaps running out of steam a bit, but it was still tremendously powerful, and Constantinople was probably still the most impressive city in the world. Since the 1070s, the Eastern Romans had been threatened by Turkish raiders, so they decided to ask the Christians of the West for help. Those Christians, led by the Catholic Pope, launched what became known as the Crusades to help fight off this Muslim threat. This never worked very well. These militant Christian fanatics were always more interested in setting up their own kingdoms than they were in restoring lands to the Eastern Roman Empire. They took Jerusalem for themselves in 1099, then fought amongst themselves, fought against the Eastern Romans, even occasionally fought against Muslims, and lost the city again 100 years later. But it was the Fourth Crusade that showed the true meaninglessness of Christian solidarity in 1204. There's only one man with a visible grave in Hagia Sophia, or Saint Sophia, the Eastern Roman Empire's greatest surviving church. Enrico Dandolo, a Venetian doge, is a surprising choice. He was the man who convinced the Crusaders that sacking Jerusalem again wouldn't be anywhere near as profitable as taking Constantinople. The inconvenient fact that the city was held by their fellow Christians didn't hold them back one bit. First they installed a pretender on the throne, but when that didn't prove to be profitable enough, they took the city for themselves, destroying everything in their path. Some of Venice's proudest possessions were stolen at this point, but much more was destroyed than taken. In the Cathedral of St. Sophia, the ample veil of the sanctuary was rent asunder for the sake of the golden fringe. And the altar, a monument of art and riches, was broken in pieces and shared among the captives. Their mules and horses were laden with the wrought silver and gilt carvings, which they tore down from the doors and pulpit. And if the beasts stumbled under the burden, they were stabbed by their impatient drivers, and the holy pavement streamed with their impure blood. Edward Gibbon, who wrote that description, can go overboard sometimes, but the contemporary accounts aren't much better. I still wonder why Dandolo's grave is preserved in Hagia Sophia, the grandest church of the city he destroyed. Is it that the Turks want to acknowledge Constantinople's true conqueror? The Western Christians held Constantinople for almost 60 years, running the once great city into the ground. The Eastern Roman Empire never fully reconsolidated the three successor states. These states fought each other and the Western Christians right up until the end. One of them did manage to take Constantinople back in 1261, but the Ottoman Turks began their rise shortly after that. The Ottomans first rose up on land that would probably have been safely Christian if it weren't for the Fourth Crusade. This Christian empire never came back from what Christians did to it. And that's the craziest thing. The Eastern Roman Empire invited this horror onto themselves. Back in 1095, when Pope Urban launched the First Crusade, he did it at the invitation of the Eastern Roman Emperor. The emperor thought that he could use this violent religious crusading spirit to save his empire. It ended up killing that empire. Again and again in history, from the Crusades down to modern Saudi Arabia, we see people who think that they can use violent religious fanaticism as a useful tool. It usually ends up hurting their own people most of all. Next up, we'll talk about a Muslim myth of Christian evil, the fall of Al-Andalus and the end of Muslim Spain. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and thanks so much to our producers and patrons for making this video possible. If you want to know more about religious fanaticism and religious myth and how it all works today, I suggest you pick up my essay, Everybody's Lying About Islam, available now on the Amazon Kindle and in paperback form. Thank you.